couple of things with you that I've thought deeply about recently. There are three kinds of truths in the world. And so I'm going to say there's an objective truth, which is true whether or not you believe it. There's your personal truth, which is true to you. Third truth is a political truth. Political truth is something that is true because it has been incessantly repeated.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good night. Whatever time you listen to this, just wanted to say thank you for listening. This is Will with Will's Truth. And for those of you who are new, just want to say thank you for tuning in. And for the old heads, welcome back. Hey, what up, bro? Hey, what up? My partner, what's up? Good to hear from y'all again. And I hope everybody's doing good today. Once again, for the new people, this is Will's Truth. So if you like what you hear, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, hit the bell, whatever notification you see, hit it so you can stay up to date on what I got going on. That's all I can really ask from you from this point. And, just you tuning in, it means the world to me. Like, all seriousness, anybody who's willing to give this a listen, I really appreciate y'all. But I won't waste your time any further. If you couldn't tell from the title, the album that I want to talk about today is Pimp Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. This is episode 4 in my series I call Some of My Favorite Things, where I just talk about some of the most influential, movies, TV shows, books, artists, just everything that's been most influential to me in my development as a human being in this world. So next up on the list, like I said before, is To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. And just to give y'all a little context, this album actually debuted at number 1 on the US Billboard 200. It won 5 Grammys, and it broke a Spotify record for like first streaming when an album comes out, one of those things. But and this album, it incorporates a lot of different genres. It's got jazz in there, it's got funk, it's got soul, it's got gospel, it's got spoken word, it's got R&B. This album pretty much got every genre wrapped into it. And originally he was gonna name the album How Much a Dollar Costs, which is actually one of the songs on the album. That would have been a great title either way. But the other title he also had for this album was he was gonna do To Pimp a Caterpillar, which when you put the initials those together, it spells Tupac. And if you don't know, Tupac was very influential in the Kendrick Lamar's development. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But one thing if I'm being real with y'all, I was scared to do this album because, for one thing, it's just so deep and complex that I want to make sure if I was going to do this, I got to do it right. I got to do the research. I got to understand so I can speak on this as eloquently and as intelligently as possible. Because one thing I want to do is I always want to bring something to the table for y'all, something new, something interesting, something, you didn't have before, especially with what's going on now in the world. You definitely need some knowledge, some entertainment, some fun, So I'm gonna try to bring that to y'all. So if you like what you hear, once again, give it a like, give it a share. Share this on your social medias. I'll greatly appreciate it. But let's get straight into it. So the first thing I want to talk about, actually, we're gonna change up the formula a little bit. I want to talk about just some of the themes that he tackles in this album, because this album just goes so deep. Like I didn't think I could do it, but I think I got a good grasp on a lot of the concepts he was talking about. I guarantee I missed some stuff just because there's so much in here. But just to talk about some of the stuff he talked about, like some of the concepts he brings up are like greed, love, depression. You got gang violence, police brutality, depression, financial literacy, survival's guilt, the hurdles black men jump through to survive in America, revenge, self-love, loving your skin, black empowerment. And then it gives proper respect to the OGs, which are funk and jazz and soul. It really gives them their due respect. And that's just a couple of things. Like, that ain't even everything. We could be sitting here all day talking about all the things that he tries to tackle in this thing. But it's just, he's such an intelligent guy. Like, the things he thinks about is just stuff that nobody else thinks about, and the concepts, the way he words it. Literally, I could sit here and talk all day about the instrumental or like the music of the album. I could talk in like the way he speaks. I could just talk about that alone. But he didn't even have to have like these great deep like philosophical concepts like about the black experience. Like he didn't even have to he didn't have to do that. Like, but is because there's like the music and then there's what he has to say, and those are like two almost two totally different things. So actually, normally I save this for the end, but I want to go ahead and just give it to y'all now. Just want to talk a little bit about my personal experience with the album. And for this album, I remember I was in high school when it first came out, and just like everybody else, I was into All Right and King Kunta. Those are the two songs I mainly listened to. A couple of the songs I can't remember which ones I listened to, but I just feel like mentally I wasn't ready for the amount of detail that Kendrick was bringing to the table. It took me a few years. I wasn't. It came out in 2015. I wasn't mentally ready for it as a whole until maybe 2000. I think it was 2018 when I was at work, and I just decided I haven't listened to this album top to bottom in a while, and the amount of concepts that I just missed was blowing my mind. Like the talking about the struggles of black men in America and the beautiful jazz and funk that he got going on in this thing, man. And it blew my mind. And what's even stupider is when I listened to this first in high school, I didn't even get to Mortal Man. I didn't even finish the song. I don't even know why I didn't. So when in 2018, when I go back and listen, I didn't even know that Tupac was at the end. That jump blew my mind. I was like, yo. I was like, is that Pac? That's exactly what I said. I said, is that Pac, bro? I was dead, bro. I had no idea it was there. And that was really nice that was kept a surprise for me for all those years that he was in there. Like, and when I listened to it for a solid year after that. Like, it's just flat out, I just wasn't ready. And now I'm ready. And now I'm even more ready than I was before, because now I understand this thing forwards, backwards, and sideways. But you know what? Let's get into my favorite part of it. Let's break down a couple of the songs a little bit more in detail. So the first song I wanted to start with is, well, we're gonna go top to bottom. We can't do every song because, you know, some of these songs I'll be here all day talking about. So yeah, we're gonna do the main songs, but I always forget to say this ahead of them. Yeah, once again, this is a listen along series. Well, you need to either listen to the album ahead of time or listen to the album while I'm talking about it. I will keep you posted on what song we're listening to at the moment. But yeah, this is a listen along series, so you need to listen along with me, because we're about to have a conversation about this. This isn't really, I don't really do reviews. That's not really what this is. This is more of a celebration / conversation about some of my favorite things. So the first song we're gonna get into is Wesley's Theory. So the album, if you don't know, is To Pimp a Butterfly, and the first song is Wesley's Theory. Okay, so first of all, off of the rip, this junk is funky, bro. Like, this junk seems like it's straight out the G-Funk era, like that Nate Dogg, Warren G, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre kind of stuff. Like, just off the rip. Like, and you can really hear that, like, he brought in somebody like George Clinton and like Thundercat. Like, he brought like funk like from OG and then like modern day funk. Like, he brought them together, and like, it's just, they went the bass line. Like, this junk sounds straight like you about to pull up on with the hydraulics on your wheels and stuff, bro. Like, them big old rims. This junk old school, bro. Like, and I guess that's also why a lot of like people who are like OG fans of him, like since like To Pimp a Butterfly and Section 80, were a little bit upset by some of the songs that he came out with, just because it was such a turn from what he had originally made. Which he talked about that, because, you know, put it simply, like, people grow and people change, just to say it bluntly. And he changed as a person. You know, his development, his ideas, the concept he wanted to bring to the table, they all changed, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, but yeah, this, if I had been listening to Good Kid, Mad City first, and like I had thought of that Kendrick all the time, then I would be a lot more surprised. But this is my first like full in-depth experience to Kendrick Lamar, so that's why it didn't shock me as much. But a lot of old heads were shocked by it. Yo, big dog, this junk is funky, bro. Like, this junk goes stupid. And then lyrically, Kendrick Lamar's kind of getting into like he's talking like he was when he was first like was about to get a deal, like what he was about to do, like he's gonna go take care of the hood, you know, buy a whole bunch of stuff, you know the normal rapper stuff. That's kind of that's where he's talking, and then the album changes. It gets a little dark when Dr. Dre comes in. Yeah, once again, shout out to George Clinton and Thundercat. They really put their foot in this song. And Kendrick, he sounds like an excited young kid when he rapping on this song, and then the real world hits him. And a lot of times, this happens a lot this happens. Kendrick Lamar uses this analogy often. He relates the game, riches, the music, the temptation of fame. A lot of it, it's used through the perspective of a woman, because I guess the most tempting thing on it, deep down for a man is women. So a lot of times, like he said, at first I did love you, you know. He speaks as if he's speaking to a woman, but it's really like the game. But it's like, but now I just want to fuck, and it's like, I don't know. Okay, that's all I wanted to say on that. But anyway, when Dr. Dre gets in there, that's when it gets stupid. Straight off the bat, the opening song is actually, I won't get into a bit deep into it now. We're gonna come back to it later. But this comes up again in I. So when we get to I, we're gonna discuss that a little bit more in detail. But there's a deeper meaning to that, if you don't already know. Very often throughout this album, the theme of temptation and greed and lust and the want for possessions and women and drugs and money, it's interesting the way he does it, because it's very authentic, because he treats that perspective as something that doesn't sound that bad. Like when in this, specifically in this song, you know, he's saying, what you want, you a house, you a car, 40 acres and a mule? He's like, he's saying, I'm Uncle Sam, I can hook you up, but you don't understand, that's temptation whispering in your ear, like lustful listening. You know, it don't sound that bad. And the concept of Lucifer comes in very often, but he paints it how it really is. It's not Lucifer, the devil with pointy ears and a tail and red and whatever. Like, Lucifer is Lucy. It's a pretty young thing. It don't look that bad. It don't look that bad until it already hits you. And that's another thing he tries to touch on with the Dr. Dre lick, because as soon as the Dr. Dre lick, it hits, you know, he says anybody can get it, but the hard part is keeping it. And then the song gets ominous and like real mysterious and like scary when Uncle Sam comes in telling you, know, buy whatever you want. You know, we'll just tax you later. Don't even worry about it. And that's when Kendrick Lamar begins to speak about financial literacy and like how the public system has really failed people. And that's why stuff like that happened to people like Wesley Snipes, you know, the muse for this song. He was not educated properly on how to handle his money, and he gets deeper into it as we get into later in the album. But that concept of not educating black people on the struggles of America, basic things that are taught generationally, we aren't taught, and we struggle with and fail. And that's what kind of this song really talks about. And that's something he's very fervent about. Like even the concept of pimping, like in the song, you think of pimping as a bad thing. It can be if you allow other people to pimp you, like industries and stuff, pimp your talents. That's I mean, we'll get into more of this later. But yeah, that's really his main goal, is having you pimp your talents to your own benefit. And even him himself, he says he's not even really sure how he, you know, with the situation he came from in Compton, he wasn't given the knowledge either. So the only reason he's made it where he is now is it's only God protecting him, keeping him safe, giving him the knowledge he needs when he needed it. Like he's lucky to make it out. Like he says that, which is true, you know. And that's why he's trying to pave the path so it's easier for other people in the future. Which he just gets into all this in deeper detail as we go deeper into the song. But the way he paints the evils and temptations, I love in this album, because temptation always sounds great. In church they tell you like, oh, beware of the devil, you know. It's like, ain't no devil. It looks good at the moment. It looks good, so you have to look beyond the raw physical appearance or the sound of it and look at the substance. He's saying, what you want? A house, a car? I'll get it for you. You know, don't worry about it. Just swipe that credit card. We'll come back to it. Oh, and they gonna come back to it. Sally, look, the government gonna come. They gonna come for their money. They gonna come get their money. That's one thing they gonna do, is they gonna get their money. But anyway, that's Wesley's theory. So let's keep it going. Let's get into the next song, which is every couple months I have a new favorite on this album, but my newest favorite is For Free. I love that song. So let's get into it. Man, Kendrick Lamar is a master at setting the tone. Like off the rip with the choir and the singing, and then you got the drums. Man, they got that jazzy drum set going. I love this album. Like, cause the first song was funk. It was straight funk. And then this For Free, that junk is straight jazz. Ain't nothing but it's not even smooth jazz. That's real jazz. Like in the musical definition of the term. That junk is nothing but jazz. Like I said this earlier, I said the little opening where they go I said if I'm a superhero, that's what I want my theme to be. And that saxophone, that and then that drum, whoever playing the drum's going stupid. But before I continue, I gotta shout out the two main jazz influences. I shouted out the funk influence, George Clinton and Thundercat. There's probably more. If I'm missing people, I'm sorry, but these are just the people that stuck out to me through my research. Is Tomasi Washington. I'm hoping I'm saying these right. Tomasi Washington. I hope I'm saying this right. Tomasi Washington and Robert Clasper. I would encourage y'all to go listen to their stuff. These dudes killed the jazz in this album, bro. Like Kendrick Lamar said, like they would just have like jam sessions, and he'd just be writing, and they'd be like literally jazz jam sessions with some of the greatest in jazz and funk, and they just going to him, and he just writing music to it. Like when was the last time you heard somebody, a rapper, invite a band into their studio and they just riffing, and you just write, and the rapper just writes on top of it? That just says a lot about his skill and dedication, and that's what I really respect about him. Like, he went to where jazz is, he went to where funk was, and he found the source and like tried to make it as authentic as possible. And that's something I really commend him for doing. Like he got some serious, and he got some really talented people like Anna Wise and Bilal. Like he really got some, his boy Soundwave, he be killing it. Like, and then I haven't even gotten to the context of the. Let me get into the context of it. Once again, who's ever doing the drums for this song is going stupid. I'm gonna look that up later. Whoever did the drums for this song went absolutely ham. It's so funky. It's really driving the whole thing, and I love it. But to get into the context of it a little bit, the woman speaking is supposed to be a metaphor. You know, she's complaining, talking about, Kendrick, you don't do nothing for me. I need this, I need that. If you ain't gonna do this for me, I'll find somebody else. You know, it sounds real ratchet, and that's all I thought it was just like a ratchet girl going off on Kendrick. But really, she's a metaphor for America, and how America be pimping black men out, like just trying to get them for their money, their possessions, pimping their talents. Like they're rapping, they're singing, they're labor in prison, just pimping them out and then leaving them out to dry once they done with them. And I just love that the perfect metaphor for America, trying to gold dig black men, America gold digging black men and women too, and their talents and their gifts, is a black woman telling a dude he ain't shit. That's the funniest thing to me. I love it because I would have never thought of a metaphor like that. That is genius level, bro. It's genius level. And then Kendrick's response. I'm getting hyped, boy. If I could spit. I'll get too hype. I gotta calm down, boy. I get too hyped. This song. Something about this song, boy. Kendrick Lamar. Okay, let me step back a little bit. Okay, so for this song, he uses a spoken word style of rapping that before this point I had never heard before. The only time I've ever heard it, and I spoke on this last time, was on the song Gray by Saba on the album Care For Me. I spoke on that on a previous video. I'll leave a link for that. Go check that out. And I love that. I wish more rappers would rap in this style. I love it. I love it so. I really I love it. It just gives an old feeling to it. Like you speak into the experiences of the old heads, the old poets, and Maya Angelou and Nina Simone and Langston Hughes, Louis Armstrong. It feels like he's tapping into like, and even modern day like people I respect like Wynton Marsalis. Shout out to Wynton, bro. Oh, and rest in peace to I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Rest in peace to two very influential people, Ellis Marsalis Jr. and Bill Withers. We lost both of them recently. Condolences to the family and Wynton Marsalis. Condolences to all of you all. Very respect. Those are two very pivotal people, both in R&B and in jazz, in the future of jazz. And if you know me, I love me some good, real jazz. I'm not a big fan of smooth jazz. I love that real, free-form, like abstract kind of Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie, Wynton Marsalis kind of jazzy jazz. And Kendrick brings it with this, man. Both and Tomasi and Robert Glasper, man, they going stupid, bro. And just to speak on the what he's speaking on in this is essentially America's been pimping black men out this entire time, gold digging them, trying to get them for all they worth, and then leaving them out to dry. And then, as Lamar says, enough is enough. But in a literal sense, he says, this dick ain't free. You leave it on. I can't even rap as fast as it, but and I like that he used the term "this dick ain't free," not to get too vulgar, but like, cause the penis is a metaphor for. I like it because it's speaking on like you only want one part of them. What you think is the most valuable part of them, that's all you want. But he's saying you can't get this for free no more because, and also it speaks on how like a rapper said like pussy is free, pussy cause dick is free, and it's like it's flipping that on his head and it's saying we need to start valuing ourselves. We're more than that. We're worth more than that, and we're gonna start taking back what we're worth. And on top of that, I'm taking interest on everything you did to me before. All that slavery, all that hard work I did on the football fields and in the studios for y'all. I'm taking my interest back. We've taken it back as a people, and that's pretty much his clapback is saying enough is enough. You think I'm gonna keep living this life? He said I want my 40 acres and a mule. I don't want $40 in a pit bull. I'm taking what I'm worth. And man, this just off the rip. This is song 2. Song number 2. Like Kendrick is going hard in the paint, bro. Hold on, let me listen to it a little bit. And also to speak back on Kendrick's appreciation for jazz. He was sitting down with somebody in the studio and he was just speaking musically on his preferences, and the dude was like, the way you speak about music subconsciously it's naturally his musical preference is naturally jazz, like what he likes to do with his music. Excuse me, yeah. So his subconscious preferences is jazz. It's default. His music preferences are default jazz. Like he said, he thinks about music. The way he thinks about music is the way a musician thinks about music, like a brass player or like a pianist, like subconsciously. And he said he said that just speaks on a lot of stuff that like you can do that you don't really have a word for, but you just subconsciously do. Like he said, I just always thought, that's just how I fit. This is just something I like. Like he never really had the words to put in the context, which I thought was very interesting, especially with this album. Which really makes it interesting that he didn't really go back to his jazz roots for Damn. But that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, this is the overarching theme always comes back in with this album, which is pimping your talents, because either you're gonna pimp it or somebody else is gonna pimp it. That's really what he's trying to tell people, and especially with America, essentially, yeah, it's gold digging, but yeah, they're pimping your talents, and you gotta pimp your own talents to your own benefit. He speaks on that very often. That's like when he was touring for this album. That's all he really talked about, was he just wanted to pimp his talents to help people. And like I said earlier, my favorite thing is like he doesn't paint the evils and temptations as evil things, like, because they're real surface level. Like America, he says it, oh America, you bad bitch. And he very intensely, because in the music video, America is a bad bitch, bro. Like he made that jump real. America ain't no ugly girl. America is let me say, America, it's a metaphor for America and the American dream, you know, trying to make it, pulling up by your bootstraps, yada yada yada, starting your own business, that sort of thing. That American dream, it's super tempting, just like a good looking woman. And I love that because a lot of people treat like, I mean, I know I already said this, but yeah, people just treat temptation like, oh, temptation, the evil, when it really be like temptation, like it ain't. It's just calling to you. And all America wants from us is to pimp our talents, whether statistically that what they want is for us to be rappers and athletes, and they get crippled by debt and get locked up, just like Wesley Snipes in the conversation he had earlier, Wesley's theory, or dead in the streets, or option C, in prison. That's what America wants from us. And Kendrick Lamar essentially saying enough is enough. If we're not gonna follow your stereotypes, we're not gonna follow this pipeline system that you built. We're gonna find our own path. And once again, like I said earlier, this goes back to the financial literacy, you know, understanding buying a house, apartment, taxes, that sort of thing, all that stuff they don't teach you in school. It's coming back to that, how that has failed us in real life in our understanding of the world. And then like just for, he got perfect transition in this song. I'll get more detail into transitions later, but because you go from saying, you know, I used to you go from the great funk from Wesley's theory, then you get into 4 Free that's got the jazz influence, and then you hop into titles like King Kunta, which mix a little bit more traditional hip hop things in there, but also keeping some of the things from earlier. And well, yeah, also, so yeah, we're transitioning into King Kunta now, is what I was attempting to do. Was that a good transition? How'd y'all like that? I thought it was cool. I mean, essentially, the moral of this album, I mean, well, not this album, this song is, it's kind of like the embodiment of when a black person comes up to you and calls you king. Come on, king, live up to you kings and queens. That's literally what this song is saying. It's essentially saying no matter what people call you, you're still a king. That's essentially the moral. And then the funny thing is, the name King Kunta is essentially it's an oxymoron. And shout out to Genius for this quote here. It said that they said he's, because it's king, the word king, and then Kunta, you know, like Kunta Kinte from The Roots. Not The Roots, the band, but Roots, the TV series. I never saw it, but I looked it up for this. But the quote from Genius that I really love is, he said, he's oppressed like a slave and dominant like a king. And I was like, ooh, if that ain't the black experience, oppressed like a slave but dominant like a king, ooh. And that's why it's an oxymoron. Like, he's essentially, and also Kendrick's essentially like puffing his chest, like essentially solidifying his throne in the rap game, which is the only time he really brings it up is in this song. But yeah, and how like he's essentially running away with it. And that's another thing it's very interesting to me personally about Kendrick Lamar, is how I've noticed that old heads in the rap game will kind of pick their favorites, like who they want to excel and run with the rap game. And one of those people clearly is Kendrick Lamar. Like when you hear old heads talk about, every old head loves Kendrick Lamar and thinks flat out that he's running it right now, like he's the king, which is true. If he were to drop something right now, the world would freeze. The world would stop if Kendrick Lamar dropped an album right now, which we all know he won't. But it's nice to dream. But that's something I really find. There was another dude. What's the dude with the hair that that's who it is. YBM Cordray. That's the other dude that I've seen, like or rappers just like say this is the one next up, or this is my favorite. I'm not sure if he'll reach Kendrick's level, but I've noticed that like he's kind of been picked as, we like this one, because the thing old heads in rap will do, they'll make sure to tell you if they don't like the new school, they'll tell you who they don't like. They old heads be quick to tell you who they don't like, but it's always rare when they tell you the people who they do like. So I always pay attention to that, and I always find that interesting. But anyway, there's not much, at least for me, to talk about on King Kunta. I pretty much said everything I needed to say. But let's get into the next song real quick. I just want to talk about it. I'm not really going to give it a full listen, just because, well, I gave it a full listen already, but not in this moment in time. I'm just going to talk about it. But Institutionalized is the next song I really want to talk about. But The only thing that really stuck out to me personally from that song is the main theme, which is I would try to keep it clean, but I feel like you don't do these justice unless you say them how they are. But my favorite phrase he says is "shit don't change until you get up and wash your ass." Like, that's unreal. It's real. I love the bluntness of it. Like, shit don't change till you get up and wash your ass. Like, it's that clear. Like, nothing will change until you get up and, like, you know how people say, like, if you want to do something, like, if you want to have a productive day, you got to get up. You can't get up late and you have to do something, like brush your teeth or shower. Like, you've got to, it's the jump start to, like, having a productive day. They say that all the time. And that's kind of what this is saying. Like, you got to get up. You got to wash your ass. And that's the only thing that really stood. And institutionalized, it kind of gets into, like, the mentality of, like, how much tunnel vision people, like, coming from Kendrick Lamar's background, like, go through, and, like, the things they don't understand just because of, once again, the themes that I talked about earlier. But after that, it gets into the song "You," which is a very good depiction of at least Kendrick Lamar's experience with depression. Like, he speaks like he's yelling at somebody, like, loving you is complicated, it's hard to love you. He goes hard about your failures, the things you got wrong, and it sounds like he's talking this perspective of somebody else, like he's yelling at somebody, but it's really him yelling at himself, which really depicts depression in an authentic light. It's just you yelling at yourself in your head. Like, you can't get really. And then when he's like, then he changes it up, and then the flow, it gets more like, it's almost like he started drinking and he's drunk now, and he starts, like, weeping and crying about the things he's going through and the suicidal thoughts and, like, the pressure and the survivor's guilt that he feels a lot. Like, like he said this, that one of the things that really struggles with him is when, like, things happen to the people closest to him, and with all the power and fame that he has, he can't do anything about it. And also the people he loses along the way, he feels a lot of survival's guilt and a lot of responsibility for the people around him because of his current status as a rapper and a prominent person in the black community. So "You" paints that in a very beautiful light, and I really love "You" for that. It's a very, another one of them songs that when I was a kid I wasn't ready for, but now I really appreciate for what it is. But then we move on, and then we get into the magnum opus, "All Right," the face of protesting in the Black Lives Matter, and probably hit the best song, the most important. Let me say the most impactful song he will ever make, I feel like, is "All Right." And let's just talk about "All Right" for a second. Oh, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. We gotta talk about "These Walls." I wanted to talk about "These Walls." I don't know. Dang it! I broke my own rule. I went out of context, but whatever. We gonna keep it going. Then yeah. So next, and before we get to "All Right," I want to talk about "These Walls." And I love the vibe of "These Walls" because it just feels like the album's been going so hard, and then it's been going so hard making its statement and saying, I'm here. And then it's like, okay, let's step back a little bit. Let's because it's almost. I mean, it's in context, but it's also out of context. It's essentially just a side story, to be honest. Like, it's just like, essentially this dude killed his friend. This is a recurring story from Good Kid, Mad City. A dude killed his friend, and now he's got life in prison, and then his girl is now sleeping with Kendrick. And so the song is essentially about their experiences, and also the guilt she feels for it, but she's still lonely and mad at him for murdering somebody, ending up in prison. And then Kendrick's just getting revenge, but he's also taking care of himself at the same time. But it's a very sad song when you think about the context of it, but the vibe is just so chill. Like, it's got a real this is when it really gets into, like, R&B vibes. Like, this is when he starts touching on that. But I didn't have much to say on "These Walls." I like the change up in vibe that "These Walls" brings. It's very calming, very relaxing, very, very peaceful song. Just a dude stealing a dude's girl. Don't get more peaceful than that. Yeah. But now let's get into all right a little bit. Well, not a little bit. Let's go ahead and dive into "All Right" now. And for a little context on "All Right," apparently Pharrell Williams made the beat for him, and, like, he kept bothering him like over and over again. Like, did you get the song done? Is the song ready? How you got the words together? Because Pharrell knew what this was gonna be. If you know Pharrell is an OG. Like that man got hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. He only real like music people really talk about it, but like Pharrell, he been holding down the game for a minute. So you know when Pharrell say something gonna be good, it's gonna be good. Like he don't bluff about stuff like that. And like the whole vibe of the song is so uplifting because it's like it's saying all this, because especially coming off of You, like it's a perfect transition after You. It's saying like even though we go through all these terrible parts of our life and the feelings and the things we do bad stuff, you know, at the end of the day, we gonna be all right. Just to put it, sometimes that's all you really need is that simple stuff, you know, even though, and especially talking about police brutality and stuff, like all this stuff the world throws at us, especially he's talking specifically to black people, but like black people, we gonna be all right. We gonna get through this because we've gotten through worse. And that's essentially what the song is saying, and I really love that about it. And just the uplifting sounds that he uses in this song, the saxophone, and then the dude who's saying like we gonna be all right. It feels like your uncle when like you scrape your knee and he puts or your father, whoever you have, and he puts his hand on your shoulder and he's like, it's all right, man, just shake it off. And you wipe your eyes and you just keep it rolling. That's what it feels like, and that's why I really love this song. So I just want to talk real quick about the song For Sale. What I find really interesting about it is what's very interesting about For Sale, and I won't dwell too long on this, but it's essentially a conversation with the devil, or whatever you want to call it, temptation, whatever you want to call it. And it's essentially, it's kind of weird because it's in a real sense, it's like saying, you know, man, I've been through this, everything with you. I bought you this, I bought you that, I got you this, I got you that. So why don't you just go ahead and sign that contract real quick, you know? And that's the thing I find interesting is, through this perspective, it's almost like the devil's one of your homeboys that you've been with for a minute. And, you know, they've been riding through all this, and then they need a favor, and you find out that favor is going to screw you over. Like, he treats you good until it's time to screw you over. That's what's very interesting. And, yeah, once again, he paints it in such a calming and not really, like, it's not like in movies it was like, I have a secret for you. Just sign the papers, and everything will be fine. It's not anything like that. It's like, I wanna get you. I'm running fine with you. Only go fine with you. I want you. Like it's real nice and peaceful. But that's how it is. It's temptation sneaks up on you. You don't realize it's evil until it's already until it's like a snake slowly wrapping itself around you. You don't notice until he grips it up. He got you. He already got you wrapped up and got you signing that contract. You lose your masters. You lose all the rights to all your stuff, your identity. You lose your rights to everything. That's because Lucy snatched it up, had a plan. But that's why I like For Free. That's I didn't used to like that song, but I like this. Oh, I like the vibe of it because it got that. Oh 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 oh. And it's got that. Woo woo. I love that. That's my favorite. That's my favorite thing, bro. That's one of my favorite licks in the whole album. But yeah, and another, going back to musically, one thing I love is the funk and the jazz and the soul influences. They kind of after the first two songs, they kind of intertwine and mingle and hop in and out, and they kind of combine together to make you combine the jazz and the funk, and you make junk. That's a reference for you. If you know that reference, let me know. Let me know if you get that reference. You're making junk. But let's keep it going. Oof, this is my second on my list of like when I have a new favorite. You know, originally it was Alright, then it was King Kunta sometimes, then it was How Much a Dollar Costs, one of the original names of the album. Oof, this song hits you heavy, boy. Oh my gosh. And to speak musically real quick about this album, one thing I didn't even notice it till like just now, but like just like real jazz, like OG jazz, like not everything is on the downbeat. Like the song almost comes in like on the upbeat or like a 16th note. It's like And it kind of winds into it, which I love, because that's that real authentic jazz. Because it's not exact, it's not perfect, it's not like calculation. It sounds like a jam session, and I really love that. But and even the somber feeling of the song, like going from top to bottom. This is another song that just went over my head when I was like, I don't know, how old was I back then? 17? Yeah, when I was 17, like I think I was 17, 16 or 17. But like that kind of stuff just like went right over my head. Like the concept, like for the story of it, it's got this somber sound to it, like almost like it's a gloomy day, and it's like Kendrick's going to go get some gas or something, and this homeless man walks up to him and asks him for money, and he's like, nah man, but like for some reason he's feeling guilt more than usual, cause he doesn't know why. It's like, cause he knows he's just gonna spend it on drugs or whatnot, and he just can't shake that old man. And he's like, okay, so I gotta give a little respect to the OG, Ronald Isley, the lead singer of the Isley Brothers. He's got a lick in this song. But one thing that's interesting about this song is while he's talking to this dude, talking about why do I feel bad for not giving this dude his money. Like in between the chorus is what gets you, is like he's saying water, sun, the one you love, it's all you need, the air you breathe, that's all you really need. And I think that's and then like, yeah, you get into it, he gets deeper, and then you find out that the homeless man is actually God testing him. So he said, you better enjoy that dollar because it cost you a spot in heaven. And then that's when Ronald Isley comes in with the I washed your hands, I said my grace. What more do you want from me? Tears of a clown. Guess I'm not all what it's all meant to be. Shades of gray will never change if I condone. Turn this page, help me change to right my wrongs. It's got that more. Now he's feeling sorry, but it's too late. You should have known. You should have listened to the chorus. He's talking about the most. That's not what it's about. That's not what life is about. Life is about helping people and taking care of your family, yourself, your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit. That's what it's all about. And I just love that title. How much a dollar costs. I feel like this song doesn't get enough credit. So a lot of these songs I feel like don't get enough. I feel like if these genres all came out separately, like if he didn't come out with this song, if he came out with this song today, it would have exploded, I feel like. But and then the Bible references, I'm not deep enough to get into the Bible references that he has in a lot of these songs, but it's just he goes so deep in this, and there's so many meanings, so many different things. Like you could say one thing, but it could really mean something else, and something else could be a deeper meaning, but and other things might not be as deep as you think it is. This is just a great album, flat out. This is a great album, and I love it. This man is super talented. But let's keep it going. That was How Much a Dollar Costs. Now let's get into the next song, which is Complexion. Once again, just like All Right, this is a great and these walls, All Right and Complexion, I feel like are really great songs for changing up the mood, because this album covers both the good and the bad of the black experience, which is what I really like. And so sometimes it gets a little heavy, so he has these couple songs that kind of lighten it up, where he has Complexion, where essentially he's talking about, to love yourself, don't feed into colorism, and essentially it's just love yourself. It's like, I don't know, Brown Skin Girl or a Lizzo song, but I actually like it. But seriously, yeah, I really like this, especially the Rhapsody. He has Rhapsody on this song, and this is back when people really sleep on Rhapsody, but like, she kills it. I love the beat change when she comes in. I really like it, but yeah, I love the context of this song. And apparently he got the idea from visiting Africa, and seeing the culture and the influences over there inspired him to write this song about loving yourself, because also South Africa has like a really bad colorism problem. Like they like bleach their skin over there, like it's really bad. Like people have cancer and diseases and stuff because they just they trying to get lighter, and that's so sad. And even to bring it to America, when you see, I don't want to like hate on anybody, but just whenever I see like women getting nose jobs and stuff like that, especially I'm only talking exclusively to black women. When black women get nose jobs and like they're natural, black people's natural features are have very broad noses, and when you make them smaller, like recently the most famous one is Summer Walker. I don't have any problem with it if you were doing it just you want to do it like a tattoo, but I feel like, and please tell me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like it's deeper than that. Like it's because you didn't like your nose, not because you felt like it was ugly, but because the world told you it was ugly. And I feel like if that's the reason you're doing it, I feel like we should have conversations with our women about that. Like, because I can understand cosmetic reasons, because stuff happens, people, they need plastic surgery, but I just don't like plastics, because plastic surgery is set up to try to make you all look like Kim Kardashian, which is hard to do. We set a standard. This is the standard of beauty, and everybody has hit it. And it's like, we all got different faces and setups and stuff, and everybody's different, and everybody got different tastes. So I don't know. That just hurts. It hurts. I'm not mad at them. It just hurts. It just hurts my heart, because that the reason they did it is because they were told that broad noses were ugly, and that's just not the case. That's just because some petty people, some immature people, or some people that need you to spend billions of dollars on reshaping your body want you to think. And you're beautiful, no matter your skin, no matter your body type, whatever race you are, or ethnicity, or culture, whatever features are predominant in your culture, be proud of them. Don't be ashamed of them. Don't be trying to look like the Eurocentric standard of beauty just because you are beautiful. And I heard one thing that was very interesting. I don't know if this is true. I might be getting a little black extreme because I'm listening to Kendrick Lamar, but I heard somewhere that like Jewish people will like try their best to keep their children in their community, like not expose them to other cultures until they might have said 13 or 10, one of those ages, but the reason is to give them a solid base about themselves, and who they are and where they come from before they go out into the world. And I feel like that's a philosophy everybody should instill, which it sounds racist, but it's really not, because when you see black children, now me myself, I'm in a way, I'm a testament to this, because I was raised in Atlanta, a predominantly black environment, so I never really got those kind of comments. Your hair's stupid, you're darky, I've never been called out of my name in my life, unless it was like a curse word, but I've never been called the N-word in my life, like from a random white dude just yelling from a distance. Maybe I missed it, I don't know, but if they did, it didn't affect me. But for people who move to nicer areas and like upper class areas where there's less minorities, or it's like spurted, and you don't have a good role model physically and aesthetically, and all the people you look up to, the cool kids in school are white, you're thinking there's something wrong with you. And I feel like if you raise a child around people who look like them, at least for a little bit, and get an understanding that what you have is normal and accepted in environments, and you don't have to change, I feel like that would be better for people, especially black children, because they grow up thinking, I've got to change my nose, I got to lighten up, I got to straighten my hair, all these things. And you're beautiful the way you are. And if you just simply hung around with more people that look like you, I feel like that would solve a lot of people's problems, and even vice versa. I'd say the same thing for a white kid joining a predominantly black environment. Our hair doesn't grow the same, we don't do the same things. I feel like when you grow up exposed to your culture off the rip, if you're raised in your race's culture, then you're more confident in who you are as an individual. As isn't 100%, I'm just saying case by case, just using myself as an example. A white racist white dude could call me out my name, I wouldn't even turn around. Like, cause I just got that much pride in myself and what I stand for, and understand what I am, that it's not even, you're not even worth the effort of anything that would go through if I turned around and spoke to you about that, or feel sorry about myself. Like, you can't use my race to try to demean me, because I just been taught that that's ridiculous. I'm beautiful and I know it. My broad nose, my curly hair, my dark skin, I know it's all my big lips, I know they're all beautiful, and there's nothing you can say about those things. Now, I have You talk about my height, we might have some problems, but the aesthetic things that make me an African American, you cannot condemn me with those. But I've gone on enough tangent. That's why I love complexion. So now I want to get into the next song, which is Black of the Berry. So let's go ahead. It kind of plays into what I'm talking about now, but let's go ahead and hop into it. And then once we get into Black of the Berry, I love the guitar. The guitar, the guitar comes a lot more up in his next album, Damn. But yeah, the guitar in this the rock and roll kind of style, man, he borrows from every style of music in this, like that punk rock, like the rebelliousness of it. It's essentially this song speaks a little bit more into that anger of being a black man and the hurdles, the racism, the police brutality, the prison system, the terrible public schooling because of schools are funded by property taxes and predominantly black areas don't have a lot of money to invest. Like, you know, the whole system, top to bottom, prisons, banks, education, the police, business, all the hurdles that black people run through. He's pretty much talking about the anger and he's talking about the hurdles and the anger that everybody has to go through. But I could talk about that more in detail. But what I really want to talk about is an interview I was watching. I'll link it somewhere. But Kendrick Lamar, this is 2015. He's speaking to an interviewer with MTV, and they're talking about Black of the Berry. And they're talking about how he got some flack for the album. I don't know. He didn't really say what exactly people were saying, but I can take a guess and say it's about the last verse where he talks about I'm the biggest hypocrite of 2015. I didn't really get that line until the very end, and he says keep listening to the song. He goes on, and then he talks about I'm the biggest hypocrite because I'm talking about how essentially, quote unquote, the white man is destroying our culture to a certain extent, or the system, establishment, whatever you want to call it, is destroying it. But also at the same time, he has also played a hand in the destruction of his race. And that's the part that people started having flack for. And I've never seen Kendrick Lamar visibly upset by what people said about him or his album. But you could see they struck a chord at him, man. And I really felt bad for. I mean, he's a rich dude, but I could feel the sorrow. Like when he was saying, like, he said, this album isn't about the community. He is the community. This was his experiences. He grew up in Compton. These are his stories. And to have a problem with it is like saying you got a problem with his experiences, saying that it's not real or whatever. Like, these are things he had to do. And then the part that had the most effect, that really I got quiet, I had to sit on it for a minute, was he started talking about he said, you don't understand the things the damage that I've caused to my community. And then he pauses and then he looks. And I've started studying body language lately, so his hands started rubbing his thighs in like a sporadic, whenever you're nervous or you're feeling like fear, or looking back on fearful times or regrets, you begin to do sporadic movements like touching yourself or feeling your hands, or for him it was rubbing his chest. And then he looked, for the first time I saw, he looked to the side and his lips started to quiver, and like you could just see he was running through, I'm guessing, when he had to kill somebody back in the day. Like, you could feel the remorse he had for what he had to do back in the day. But it's what it was. It was his reality, and he understands that. But it doesn't hurt any less. And that's one thing he also speaks on is the gangsters, these tough dudes that are killing people. Like, you may see, even like the glorification of like gang violence. They say it, but when these grown men go behind closed doors and away from everyone, they shed tears for the things they've done, because they're killing their own people. It's a very complicated subject, because for one, this is all systematic. This was all built by the crack epidemic, which was fed to the black communities by the CIA and the government. That's just what I believe. It could be wrong, I don't know, but that's just what they say. But it's just really, the look of sorrow and the pain for the things that he had to do and had to see. You could feel the pain in his voice. Like, he was talking about, like, and even like today, like beyond that, like hearing that people he grew up with, his childhood friends, had been killed while he's on tour with like Kanye West and like all these other famous people. His friends are getting killed in the streets, and he knows the people who killed them, and he's got to sit with that information and not do anything about it, not because he can't, but because he shouldn't. And that's really, I got all the respect in the world for him, like, because that's hard to do. True humility is a difficult thing, and but it's the only answer. Just like Uncle Iroh taught me, true humility is the only answer. Like he said, I'm just gonna go off. This is a little unrelated, but Uncle Iroh said, pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. Pride is the source of. He said, Uncle Iroh said, pride is not the opposite of shame, but it's its source. True humility is the only path to happiness and peace. Something along those lines. And that has stuck with me for my entire life. I think about that quote all the time. And I don't know, it's just something about the look on his face, the devastation, the things he's seen. I just felt for him in that moment. And to have people provoking it and bringing that out of him, I really felt bad. Because I've never seen him lose his composure before. He was visibly angry about the remarks people had to say about that song. But that just goes into how great of a person he is, that he's willing to be that open. Like, this isn't in this album. He's very open in the album, but this is in an interview. How open he is to be as vulnerable. But this is also a person he's been interviewed with a couple times. There's somebody he knows in text. Like, they're like co-worker friends, kind of. Like, that kind of situation. So, but I just love that. Like, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm gonna put the clip in. But it's just, and you know, if you follow, I'll put it on my social media. But that scene just strikes a chord with me, man. That it changed how I went about this entire podcast when I saw that scene, and it changed my perspective on Kendrick Lamar. And this is Kendrick Lamar in 2015. I just think about the amount of growth he's had since then, and I just commend him for it. But I think I've said all I need to say. And one more thing. Kendrick Lamar said, like, he says this very often, he makes his music for prisoners, and he makes them for college students. He makes them for people with time, people who are able to sit with an album. And Kendrick Lamar said it himself. He's not a big fan of people calling him like the greatest of all time after like just one song or an album. Like, he wants you to sit with his music for a while. That's why he makes his music for people in prison and people in college, because he wants you to sit with his music, live with his music. And I guess I'm a testament to that, because I'm having a conversation about this album 5 years after it came out. So, you know, it's true. He makes his songs for longevity, and every time I hear his music, I hear something different every time. And I got nothing but respect for him because of that. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. We gotta talk about I. Oh man, I love I. It's one. But I guess if we're gonna talk about I, we gotta go back a little bit. This is the earliest single from this album that he released, and what's interesting is the original version he didn't put into the final cut of this album. He put the live version up, and I'll explain why in a minute. But he got a lot of flack for them. Well, let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about when he originally released I. The first thing that everybody had to say was a lot of people didn't like it, because they felt like he was becoming mainstream, like he was changing it up, because it was a different flow than what they were used to. In the context of today, it doesn't seem that different from what you would expect from him. But back then, when all you had to go off of was Section 80 and Good Kid, Mad City, I was a very big change for Kendrick Lamar. But he said the reason he made that song was, for his boys in prison who were struggling, for people struggling with depression and suicide, because people come to his concerts with like things on their arms from cutting themselves, and they would say, your music saved my life. And so he said at the time he said it was the most important song he had ever made, but even more than All Right. Like, he said it's the most important song he ever made, because he made it for them to say, no matter what happens, I love myself and you gotta love yourself, and we gonna make it through this. And I love that theme, and it's a really fun upbeat song I really like. But honestly, I prefer the live version over the original version, mostly because I just heard the original version for the first time recently. I mean, it's good, it's okay. I mean, not okay. I probably would love it if it was the first version I saw, but it wasn't, so it's not. But what's really interesting about the song is what he said for the he if you know music, you know that he sampled the song that Who's That Lady by the Isley Brothers. You know that Who's That Lady? Who's That Lady? I'm always singing on here, but he actually went to Ron Isley himself, the lead singer, and to get permission for this. And I guess the conversation went very well, because one, he got it, and then two, Ron Isley has 2 credits on this album for this song and the other song, How Much a Dollar Costs. And I think he's on another song, I don't know, but I guess the conversation went really well then. And he also said that people were saying that it's too pop and he changed it up, but he said this is an Isley Brothers sample, and Isley Brothers are soul, it's black, and he's just he reminded people that he's like, this is a black sample, this is a black song, you know, it don't matter what you think, it's what it is. Historically, this is a soul influence, and I respect him for that. I got nothing but respect for Kendrick Lamar all day, every day. But okay, my computer's running out of battery, so we gotta keep this moving. So I got one more song to do. I already said it, but let's get in real quick. Let's get into Mortal Man, and then let's get out of here, guys. And I just gotta say, let's just talk musically for a second. Like, oof, I love the strings. The strings are fantastic in this song, man. The strings are absolutely fantastic. I love it. It's beautiful. This part, he's talking about some serious stuff, but it's these instruments. I wish so many artists like Tyler the Creator and stuff would release every single album they made. I wish they had the instrumental for all of them, because I just love to listen to it. Like, it's beautiful. Like, it's such a beautiful ending to this album. It feels like you're wrapping it up. It's so roll credits. Ooh, like that. It's like that level of not For Your Eyes Only. What's the last song on 2014 Forest Hill Drive? Note to Self. It's like Note to Self. It's a perfect wrap up to the end of the album, and I love every second of it. And then to pull away from the musical aspect, like, you know, the strings are fantastic. Like, and I haven't even talked about Kendrick Lamar is one of those artists where sometimes you can't tell if it's Kendrick on a song, because the way because, you know, he's kind of got like a good raspy singing voice. He can change his inflection, his voice, his tone, his pitch, where sometimes it's like, is that Kendrick? And that's one of his greatest skills. You can't tell sometimes if it's him, and I love that. And this is when, and at the end of the album, he kind of begins to almost accept that he's become a leader in his own community. But he also accepts that he understands what happens to leaders like Martin Luther King and Moses and Malcolm X and Nelson Mandela. Is, you know, you do your work, and then the system, I mean, your people are most likely the ones that are going to take you down. And so he understands his time is short, so that's why he makes albums like this to try to preach to you. And then the recurring theme, oh my, shit don't change until you get up and wash your ass. And this other lick, what is it? When shit hit the fan, is you still a fan? I love that. That's so real. And he says, ask your friends, when shit hit the fan, are you gonna ride when the road gets bumpy? Are you gonna be there? Because it's gonna stop being bumpy, but you got to get through the bumpy times with me, or you won't be able to enjoy those other times with me. Like, I love that. There's no other way to describe it. The price of a leader. When shit hit the fan, is you still a fan? That I bet you all, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, I bet you they would all agree. And then what's very interesting is, back when I was listening to this in 2018, I thought it was so interesting that that Michael Jackson lick, or was it 2019? It might have been 2019. But that Michael Jackson lick where he's talking about he gave us Billie Jean, you saying he touched those kids, like, especially when that documentary came out. Just me personally, I don't think he did it. He could have, and I could be completely wrong. I'm willing to accept that, but that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. He could be a pedophile, and I wouldn't know. But I don't believe he did it. But that's interesting that Kendrick thinks the same also. And it's very fervent. That's the most fervent he gets in the entire song. Well, like he gets real passionate when we get to that Michael Jackson part, and then the string starts swelling like the dun 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 dun. And what's interesting, this is the first time we hear strings in the entire album, which I always thought with how great this was, I would thought they would have had strings on it, but no, this is the one and only time there are strings in this album is in the very last song. And then this would be great by itself, but then the surprise, if you listen to this without anybody telling you, he has a secret conversation from beyond the grave with Tupac, the black man's greatest rapper of all time, 20 years running, 20, 30 years running. I remember growing up, my parents weren't very big Tupac fans, so I heard the name Tupac more than his actual music, and he like the name Tupac I heard more than his actual music, and Tupac has very high respects in the black community. He is coveted almost like a messiah, kind of, almost like people still think he's still alive, that he's in Cuba. I don't know, I wasn't around at that time, so I don't have a strong opinion about it, but the reverence the old heads have, the people who are 30 something now, the reverence they have for Tupac is so high, it's ridiculous. Like, you see shirts with I haven't seen a shirt yet that said Tupac whatever day he died to whatever, what day he lived to the day he died. All of them where it's supposed to put the day he died, there's a blank because they still think he's in Cuba, just because he had that kind of impact. And Tupac said it himself. I know everybody knows this quote, but he says, "I won't change the world, but I will spark the change that change the world." And J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Chance the Rapper, any rapper alive now, like who's at least over 25, Tupac is a direct influence on their music and who they are as people. And the fact that he got this interview, but yeah, what's interesting is, but what's really interesting is the way Kendrick Lamar, the way he got this, what's really interesting is the way he got this interview from Tupac was he was in Germany, and a guy who interviewed him said, even though you and Tupac are from different eras, y'all both have the same basic, conscience or ideas about, the black experience. And so that's why he gave him that interview. And obviously he got permission from Tupac's mom and his state and his, what's it called? I don't know. But he got the right permission, and then he did it, and it was, and Kendrick Lamar calls him a prophet because he speaks on things. And it's true. The thing, even still today, 5 years after he made that interview with Tupac's words are still true. Black people are tired of the rich people, man. Humans, we're tired of the rich taking advantage of the poor. We need to start coming together and not letting them divide us. But yeah, that whole conversation was fantastic. It was amazing. And at the end, when he still has questions, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. I didn't even talk about yeah, I'm sorry. I almost forgot. I didn't even talk about the poem. How did I forget the poem? All right, yeah. So the poem, it goes, I remember you was conflicted, misusing your influence. Sometimes I did the same. Abusing my power, full of resentment. Resentment that turned into a deep depression. Found myself screaming in the hotel room. I didn't want to self-destruct. The evils of Lucy was all around me, so I went running for answers. Until I came home. But that didn't stop survivor's guilt, going back and forth trying to convince myself the stripes I earned, or maybe how A1 my foundation was. But while my loved ones was fighting the continuous war back in the city, I was entering a new one, a war that was based on apartheid and discrimination. Made me want to go back to the city and tell the homies what I learned. The word was respect. Just because you wore a different gang color than mine doesn't mean I can't respect you as a black man. Forgetting all the pain and hurt we cause each other in these streets. If I respect you, we unify and stop the enemy from killing us. But I don't know. I'm no mortal man. Maybe I'm just another nigga. And yeah, so I haven't talked about it at all because I was saving it for the ending. But since we're at the end, I guess in a way, this is all one. I guess in a way, this is all one big conversation that he was having with Tupac, the poem and everything he was going through. and I guess if you want to take it that way, but it's just, and he's been piecing it little by piece, and each piece is more related to like some of his songs. So he'll save parts. He'll only say the parts that are most important to each song or the next song coming up. He did it very eloquently, and then essentially Tupac's philosophy is just like how everybody's tired of being abused by the system, and like the next time there's a riot, things are gonna get really serious, and like give me blood, we're gonna grab the rich, and the influence on the streets. And but at the end, I guess this is the most important part of the whole album, I feel like, is the final poem that he tells him, and it's the story of a caterpillar, and the caterpillar is you, and your talents, your skills, everything you can bring to the table is your butterfly. And essentially he's just saying, even though you and the butterfly are completely different, you're still one and the same. And also, I guess I would say the moral of this album was, don't allow the world to pimp your talents. You pimp your talents to your benefit, especially and it's very good for times like now with the coronavirus, everything going on, people getting stressed and afraid. Don't allow the government, the people, whoever, to pimp your talents, your skills, your happiness. Use this time to hone your craft, sharpen your skills, or just keep yourself mentally sane, keep yourself happy, keep yourself entertained. If you're not gonna be productive, at least try to make efforts to be happy in the situation that you have. And I know there's only so much you can do, but look at some manifest. Look at some places you want to travel to when you get out of this. Dream up some dreams, think of some goals, make some plans to be productive one day. Put on pants. If you could just put on pants one day, I'd say that's a job well done. I guess, if I were to give my advice for this time right now, I would say, me personally, since starting this podcast, I've been going back and looking at all of my favorite movies and TV shows and books and music, obviously, and it's really helped bring a peace thinking about all these things and the fond memories I have with them. Thinking back to the people I was listening to this stuff with or watching with, the laughs I had, the places I used to be, the experiences I used to have. It's really been keeping me sane. So I would encourage you to go and look at some of your favorite movies. Even like we go back to Barney, like stuff you liked when you was 4, just to get a good laugh. We don't get since this thing happened, when was the last time you laughed? I say go out, take a walk. Put on some of your favorite songs from when you was a little kid, with Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Backstreet Boys, Isley Brothers, Bill Withers, whatever age you were, when you were young or had good times. Play the music from those good times, and hope they make you feel better the way that I do. And everybody stay strong out there. Now that I have a lot more free time, I'm definitely going to try to upload more. So I got some good stuff coming. And stay tuned. And for anybody who's actually listened to this thing top to bottom, the greatest thank you would not be enough for me to describe how much I appreciate you. And until the next one, continue to pimp your talents to your benefit.